Hi, I'm Jimmy. In this video, we're looking at PayPal, ticker symbol PYPL. So in this video, we're going to run through the basics of PayPal's business. We're also going to run through some of the hurdles PayPal is facing. Their stock is down a decent amount over the past year, so we're going to look into some industry basics and where they're running into problems. And then we're going to try to come up with a fair value, look at some of the numbers, try to come up with a fair value for PayPal stock to see if it's worth investing in today. Ultimately, we're trying to answer the question, is PayPal a value or is it a value trap? Okay, for now, let's jump in and look at the basic setup of, let's call it the payment industry. Now, I took this chart straight off of PayPal's website, and basically it kind of explains the payment process. So we go into a store, we go into a merchant, and we, the customer, want to buy this product. Well, we buy a product, and when you swipe your card or tap your wallet or whatever it is, it will go through a series of steps to everything from authorization through all the different steps until eventually the merchant, the store that sold you the product, gets their money. There's an entire process behind that. And basically, the point of PayPal is to try to simplify their process. In fact, their full image looks like this. Their full image shows it as they handle a bunch of the steps. Now, in this actual illustration, they're showing that they're handling kind of the middle steps, which makes sense from the merchant standpoint. They get the button, the PayPal checkout button, and they do a whole bunch on the merchant side. But I would also point out that on the consumer side, they also have a consumer can open an account and make it easy. They have a wallet, all of that stuff. But with that basic setup, all right, I know that this is super simplified. And by the way, this can be done depending on the type of card you use. If you use a Visa versus a MasterCard versus American Express, the process will be slightly different. But now we get an idea of there's a lot of steps to the process. That's the point. There's a lot of steps to the whole process. PayPal is supposed to make it simpler. But PayPal isn't their only line of business. PayPal also owns and controls Venmo. Now, Venmo, for anybody who's not aware, is basically a peer-to-peer transfer. So if I was going to send my friend money, I could send it via Venmo. And last year, in fiscal year 2025, they actually only had the numbers in their quarterly statement, so I had to add them up from quarter to quarter. But they did about $330 billion worth of transactions. Now, this is just the Venmo side of their business, their peer-to-peer transactions. When we look at how much PayPal brought to the table as well, PayPal brought 1.8 trillion. So Venmo did about $330 billion in peer-to-peer transfers last year. Now, Venmo's not the only peer-to-peer transfer system. The one that I want to highlight is Zelle. Now, Zelle started in 2017, and basically it was set up by a group of banks. There's 6 or 7 banks that set up this Zelle system. Now, Zelle integrates right into you. If you have a Bank of America account, you can Zelle people money right from there. So it's fairly simple to use. It's real easy to sign up with as long as you have online banking. Most banks let you send money through Zelle. Last year, Zelle put up $1.2 trillion, more than $1.2 trillion in payment-to-payment transfers. The 2017 is when they started. So they put up, nearly quadruple what Venmo did, and they started well after Venmo started. For a while, Venmo was the uncontested leader, and Zelle sort of quickly stepped in and kind of took over. Now, this brings us back to just think about one thing before we jump over to that. The interesting part here is the two banks are talking directly with each other. What they don't have is the entire complex process that we showed before. They don't have that. So if I send money to you via Zelle and I have, Bank of America and you have Citibank, I send you money and it goes right from my account directly to your account. It is available in your account as cash in seconds. It's out of my accounts. It's an account-to-account transfer. Now, if you think about that, that steps around a lot of this process. Now, there is a process behind that as well, but it's not as complex as this, and it's super fast. So one of the interesting parts in my mind from an industry standpoint and from a competitor standpoint for PayPal, just so we all understand kind of what's happening with their business. But one of the interesting parts is imagine Zelle worked openly with, merchants. So I walk into, Walmart. I'm going to go into Walmart or McDonald's or whatever it is, and I can tap my phone in, let's say, in the Zelle app, and they get paid instantly. Now, it's more complex than I'm making it sound. You'd have to be able to figure out, how you can get your money back if you need to return something, things like that. There's a deeper process behind that. But point is, hypothetically, you could skip a lot of these steps. Merchants get charged a decent amount of fees, typically 2 to 3% for this entire process. So if I charge, $100 at Walmart, they're only getting like 97 of it. All these steps are taking a little piece. Whereas if you could figure out account to account, and this is not some hypothetical example, there are companies out there trying to do it. In some countries, it's already begun that they're doing that. But if that was the case, instead of going from my PayPal account to your PayPal account, and then having to hook up my bank account to my PayPal account, well, what if you could go bank account to bank account and you could just, tap and connect and send the money? Point is that there's a threat to the entire industry. I don't know how imminent it is because, frankly, with this setup, banks actually get paid a decent amount here. Banks are, out of that 2%, the bank is taking a decent chunk of that because, frankly, they're risking the most, especially if you have like a credit card or something. Well, the bank is taking a big piece of that. So where all these individual steps take a piece, which is why PayPal wants to be in, as many steps as they can so they can get a different piece. Well, the bank is taking the biggest risk, so the bank gets the biggest part of the fee. But if the bank gets sick of all these other companies jumping in here, and there's a lot of them, well, they potentially could work on a way to try to upend this whole process. Now, until that happens, I think that one of the tough parts with PayPal, and then we'll jump in and look at some of the numbers, but one of the tough parts with PayPal is that PayPal is working on both the consumer end, where they're trying to get you to sign up for a PayPal account, send money with Venmo, send money with PayPal, things like that. But also, they're trying to work it on the merchant end, trying to get you to, if you have an online website or even if you're in store, they want you to accept PayPal, which makes sense. And you want, as a store, you want to accept as many forms of payment, make it as easy for the customer as possible. But they're being attacked from all different angles. I mean, Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay, they're all jumping right in front of what PayPal would typically do. And they're trying to get in there and do their own process. You've got, a whole dozen different companies, probably more, trying to jump in and take individual pieces of this. So the interesting part for me when I was doing the research is I realized there's competition for this company coming in from all directions, and each are kind of attacking a different angle of their business, which is why when we jump over and look at some of their numbers, well, this is revenue. And revenue, we can see, is growing fairly well, right? It's decent. But if we were to look at this chart from a slightly different perspective, instead of looking at just raw revenue numbers, let's jump over and look at revenue growth numbers. And we can see since 2021 or so, revenue growth has really tailed off. Now, the interesting part about PayPal's growth is that PayPal's growth has fallen despite the fact that the dollar amount of transactions that they're doing has actually increased. In fact, when we jump over and look at a chart of their total spend, the total money spent through PayPal, well, we can see it's approaching near $2 billion. Now, when we jump over and look at the $2 trillion, my mistake. When we jump over and look at the growth rate for that, well, we can see that just like we saw with revenue growth rate has dropped. But here you could see that in the most recent year, the growth rate for the total amount spent was almost 7%, where their revenue only grew by like 5%. And that is largely happening because they're negotiating bigger contracts and getting bigger customers on board, but bigger customers can negotiate better rates. So one of the reasons, that's not the only reason, but one of the big reasons is that they're processing more transactions at a lower take rate. So you see revenue grow less, despite the fact that the total amount spent on on PayPal, the system itself, is growing decent. I mean, 7% growth is better than less than 5%, but just be aware that that's going to lead to less, let's say less growth in profitability. In fact, if we jump over and look at a chart of growth no, this is a chart for actual net income. Now here, I'm not actually going to show a growth chart because you can tell here, it's kind of flat a couple of years. It kind of dipped down some years. Interestingly, if you saw how steady revenue grew, and then we jump over, and if we jumped right from there to net income, we can see it's far less stable. Now it has gone up some. So I do think that PayPal is still in an interesting position. I've actually been fairly negative on PayPal up to this point, despite the fact that I would remind everybody, just in case you didn't know, I actually own a small piece of PayPal in one of my portfolios. And the interesting part is I do think that PayPal is a solid company. I just don't think that they're the uncontested leader that they were, let's say, before COVID. Before that, leading up to 2019, they were the main player. Then COVID happened and they got all this additional growth. And then when the tailwinds of that went away, competition had been popping up all over the place. And I think that's where they're feeling the pressure. Now, as we've seen, growth has decelerated, but it is still increasing. And I do think that PayPal has the potential over the long run to be a big player, let's say one of the big dogs in the fight. But they're not uncontested. There's a lot of competition from a lot of different ways. Now, along those same lines, kind of point out another positive for PayPal as far as, let's say, being shareholder friendly, they're buying back stock. And buying back stock is generally a good sign if you're an investor in the company, because as they buy back stock, there's less shares outstanding and makes your piece, in theory, a bit more valuable. Now, before we jump in and look at the fair value for PayPal stock, let's jump over and look at a price chart for PayPal over the past year. So PayPal, as you can see here, the stock is down about 50% over the past year. So really, it's getting killed. And very recently, you can see the stock dropped a decent amount right over here. Well, when this stock dropped, they had announced earnings, they came up shy of expectations, guidance wasn't all that great for 2026, and they announced that they were getting rid of their CEO since the CEO kind of had a turnaround plan. All those things we were looking at earlier, they had a plan to kind of spin that around, and it didn't work. They missed a whole bunch of targets, so they replaced the CEO. Now, the new CEO will take over on March 1st, so it'll be interesting to see how their plan shakes out. But I would just point out that a lot of the issues that we've kind of gone through with PayPal stock through this video, it's very clear that PayPal is very aware of them. And I'm sure that they're going to do what they can to try to change things. Now, with that being said, I just want to jump over and look at operating cash flow, which, again, not quite as steady as what we saw in growth for revenue. It's been a little bit volatile, similar to earnings per share, or net income, I mean. And then when we jump over and look at free cash flow, again, it's fairly similar. Now, a lot of times I think it makes sense to use kind of a secondary valuation method to kind of double check our work to see if, multiple valuation methods point to a stock being undervalued. So here, we're looking at the PE multiple, price to earnings multiple, for PayPal going back the past decade. Now, here's the interesting part about this. Right now, it is trading at 7.2x. So undoubtedly quite low. Now, what's interesting is when we look at this chart, well, for a while, this was trending higher. But we saw the kind of the storyline of what happened with revenue, what happened with profit, what happened with their growth rate. Oftentimes, price to earnings multiple, whether it be trailing price to earnings multiple or forward price to earnings multiple, they're a reflection of both growth and profit margins. And we know that their profit has not been growing as good as revenue, so profit margins have been getting squeezed. We also saw that growth has really tailed off. So the trick here is that when we look at the early part of this chart, let's say the first 5 or 6 years of this chart, I think that we're being too optimistic to think that this stock should be trading back at this level. Now, I do think when we look at this chart, it seems very clear that a PE multiple of 7.2x is quite low. This stock looks quite low relative to the past decade, but I do think that we're going to see let's say a revaluation of this, where perhaps it lands somewhere between 7 and 15 and not necessarily over 20, because you just don't have the growth, the profit margins, or frankly, you don't have the moat that this company once had 10 years ago. So from that standpoint, yes, it does look like it's undervalued, but not necessarily meaningfully so. Now, on the flip side, when we jump over and look at discounted free cash flow, well, discounted free cash flow, on the other hand, looks quite good. I mean, first, this is a chart of free cash flow along with estimates. Estimates are in the green bars. And we can see they're moving up fairly good. And then on our gauge chart over here, we can see the stock looks way undervalued. And we're just assuming this, and then we're assuming 2.5% growth after that. Now, I use a required rate of return of 9%, but even if we were to argue that's too low, 21% or 21.7% based on today's price, 21%, if you set it for 20, the stock would still be undervalued right now. So there's no doubt that this stock appears to be undervalued. And the interesting part is, what is the best move? Is it a value or is it a value trap? I do think that PayPal, over the next 5 to 10 years, has a shot of maintaining their position, of maintaining a position in the market. I do not think that they're going to go back to the dominant player. Now, I own a small position in one of my portfolios, and for me, I intend on holding that position. I do think that the market has overreacted to their declining growth and to the competition that we've seen come into the market. I think the market went too far. I think that we're likely to see somewhat of a bounce over the next year or two, but I don't know how their long-term business plan is going to shake out. Now, in our investing community, we have, if you sign up for the Investors Grow website, we do these different live streams. In the most recent research live stream that I did, I actually went through a whole bunch of companies in this industry. That's how I came to this video. And some other companies, like Toast is another company, does something similar to PayPal, but they do it specifically for restaurants. It's actually kind of different, but they do payment processing. That's part of what they do. I think a company like that is real interesting. I think that because they're such a niche company, that could be interesting. So it is something to think about. Now, if you want to sign up to get access to the Investors Grow website, where we have a bunch of tools to try to make it quick and easy, I will leave a link right here, link in the description below. And thank you so much for sticking with me all the way to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.